In this video, we are going to go over our second day of material. So this is what we've been doing in the most recent months. So in the first one here, what it says is we need to learn how to write equations. So to write equations by hand, it says step 1, label m, x, and y. So it's been a little while since we've done this. It's very easy. Then it says step 2, plug into the formula y equals mx plus b. So in that formula, I know that the y is the number -1, the m is the number -1/2, the x is the number -2, and I don't know what b is, so I'm writing plus b. So now I need to solve this. -1 equals -1/2 of -2, you could plug that in the calculator if you want to, is the number +1. To get b by itself, we need to move this 1 out of its way, so I'm going to subtract 1, and I'm going to subtract 1. -1 minus 1 is the number -2. So I just found out that my b is the number -2. So if I know that my m is -1/2, and my b is -2, that means my answer has to be g, because g has a slope, an m of -1/2, and a b of -2. So now I move on to number 27. What is the equation of the line that has a slope of 5 and goes through the point 3, 0? So step 1, I'm going to eliminate answer choices by knowing that my slope is 5. So slope is 5 means that the number in front of the x, the m is the slope, that number has to be a 5. So if I look at all of these, that's a 5, that's a 5, 5, and 5. So there's no answer choices I can eliminate because all of them have a slope of 5. So now step 2, it says go to your calculator and type it into the calculator. So in my calculator, I'm going to start by typing in a. Y equals 5x plus 3. Okay, so there's my equation. And now I'm looking to see if the ordered pair, hold on, here it is, wait, and right here. Okay, so I'm looking to see if the ordered pair, 3, 0, is on the table. So what it says is type this little button and then click the table button. So I'm gonna click this little circle. I'm going to click the table. So my question is, when the x value is 3, is the y value 0? So I'm going to type it in. Oops. When the x is 3, did it say 0? Nope. It says 18. So it's not A. So now I'm going to do the same thing with letter B. I'm going to type it into the calculator and check its table. Again, I'm checking to see 3. When x is 3, is my y 0? No. So it's not this one either. Let's try C. Y equals 5x minus 15. Circle, table. When x is 3, is the y 0? It sure is. So my answer has to be C. Correct answer is C. When you're ready, let's try number 28. So in 28, we're going to start by knowing that this word parallel means same slope. So if parallel means same slope, it means I need an m. That's the number -5. In any of these equations, that's not a -5. That's not a -5. And that's not a -5. So the only answer choice that's parallel, which means same slope, is option F. Nothing else has a slope of -5. So we're going to try the same thing with 29. In 29, it says parallel, so that means same slope. The slope is this number right here. So if we look at this, letter C doesn't have that slope. Letter D does not have that slope. So now what I need you to do is go to Desmos. Oops. One moment. All right. So I no longer need this equation. This doesn't matter for me. All I needed that for was the slope. So now in Desmos, you're going to type in A, you're going to click the table, and you're going to see if 3 goes with a positive 6 on that table. If it doesn't, try letter B. Okay, next one. The word perpendicular. This is old. It's been a little while since we've done this. Perpendicular means you take the slope. Perpendicular means flip and change. So I take the slope. I need to flip it. Instead of a negative, I need to change the sign and make it a positive, which is the only answer choice that has an M of 3/7. Not this one, not this one, not this one. Positive 3/7 has to be letter H. Okay, 31, let's do this together. 31, it says perpendicular to number y equals 3. Y equals 3 means it touches the y-axis at 3. And it's a line that cuts straight through it. The ordered pair, -5, -1, is right here. So what it wants is it wants us to go through the ordered pair, -5, -1, but be perpendicular to this black line. Perpendicular means it's going to cut it like this. So that goes through my red point and is perpendicular to my black line. The equation of this line is that it cuts through the x-axis at the number -5. Okay. Special line, because it was y equals 3. Perpendicular means it goes in the opposite direction. Moving on, next piece. Next, these are easy, you're good at these. Function notation. It's been a while. What this means is when we have a number in parentheses, we just plug it in for x. So it's 4. That's ugly. A little bit, sorry. Okay, so my equation says 4. Instead of x, I'm plugging in the number +2. And then it says -8. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. So that's the answer. Next one, 4. Instead of x, x is -8. -8. So I'm writing this exact equation, but instead of the x, I'm replacing it with my x value. 4 times -8 is the number -32. Use a calculator if you need to. -32 minus 8 is the number -40. So this is -32, and then there's a -8, which is the number -40. Okay, 33, I'll do the first one, you try the second one. Now in the calculator, you just type in the function exactly as you see it. So that's the calculator. I can even use the letter G. I'm typing exactly as I see it. G parentheses x. What am I doing? Get out of here. G parentheses x equals -1/3 x plus 6. -1 divided by 3. Right-click x plus 6. Then below it, I'm going to type in G parentheses 9. So easy. And the number I get is a +3. That's my answer. So the correct answer is 3. So in your calculator, your answer is going to be sitting in the corner in a little box right here. Equals 3. So I want you to go ahead and try letter D. Not like that. ready, try this one here. Okay, so now we're going to play with graphing. We need to know how to graph by hand, and we need to know how to graph in the calculator. So to graph by hand, the most important piece is we need to have y by itself. Solve for y. To solve for y, when an equation has parentheses, it means that you need to start by getting rid of parentheses. That's called distributing. Half of x is the number 1/2 x. Half of 6 is the number 3. Then I bring the left side down. So now y is almost by itself, but there's this -4 in the way. So I need to get rid of it by doing +4, goodbye, and +4. That leaves with the number y equals 1/2 x. 4 plus 3 is 7. Notice I took the 4 and I added it to the regular old number. 4 plus 3 are like terms. 4 plus 3 is 7. So now this is the equation that I need to graph. This is not a very nice equation of me. So for this one here, let's not graph it. To graph, you would start at 7. And then I would go up 1 and over 2. I guess I can graph it. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. That's ugly. Oops. There's your line. Okay, when you're ready, try this one here. I'll start you off with distributing. -3 times x is a -3x. -3 times 1 is a -3. Bring down the left. Next step, move that 2 to the back by subtracting 2. And that's a 3. Okay, and then graph. Begin. So in this one here, by the calculator, if you want to do it this way, you solve for y, and then you just type it into the calculator, and then you sketch it. If you don't want to do it by the calculator, you can do it by hand. But we cannot graph unless y is by itself. Once y is by itself, then you can graph. Okay, go ahead and graph number 35. Also a little ugly, it's going to graph off of the line, but that's okay. Okay, next two. Same thing, I can only graph a line when y is by itself, so let's do these two. The only thing in the way from y being alone is this number -2. To get rid of a -2, we divide everything by -2. That leaves me with y equals -2x minus 3. Now y is by itself. 4 divided by -2 was a -2 with an x. 6 divided by -2 is -3. So now I'm ready to graph this line. To graph a line, I begin on the y-axis, -3. And then I go down 2 and right 1. Same idea, 37. We've seen this a lot in the most recent chapters. To get y by itself, you start by moving your x to the other side. That leaves you with 2y equals -4x plus 10. Get y by itself by dividing everything by 2. That leaves me with y equals -4 divided by 2 is -2x. 10 divided by 2 is a +5. So I'm going to begin at the number +5. And then I'm going to drop down 2 and to the right 1. And that's my graph. Okay, moving on. Next piece are called inequalities. In inequality, there's no calculator way to do this. So that's why we just have 2 examples. I'll do the first example. You try the second one. Kind of, maybe I'll do these both because that one's weird. Okay, to solve an equation or an inequality, we start by getting rid of parentheses. To get rid of parentheses, we have to distribute. -3 times 4 is the number -12. -4 times 2 is the number -8. Then we bring down our symbol and write the 60. Next step, move the x's to the left. There are no n's or x's on the left, so we're good. Next step, take your number, move it to the right. If that's a -12, I need to +12 and +12. Last step, get n by itself by dividing. The number 72 divided by -8, use your calculator if you need to, is the number -9. But we have to be careful. When we divide by a negative, it means we have to flip our sign. So my final answer is that n is less than or equal to -9, which is G. We had a sign flip because we had to divide by a negative. I want you to try this next one. I'm going to get you to right here. When we solve for a letter, we need the letters on the left. So I'm going to subtract 4n and subtract 4n. 3 n's minus 4 n's is -1 n's. Minus 1 is greater than 5. When you're ready, go ahead and try to finish that to the next step. All the way to pick your answer. Okay, next, these are very easy and very important. We are almost done. So in these here, we need to have y by itself. So in question 40, y is by itself. Then we need to figure out what sign it is. This is a solid, oops, one moment, sorry guys. I don't know why I keep doing that today. Here we go. This is a solid line. So what that means is that my symbol has to have a line underneath it. So it's not F and it's not G because there's no lines underneath their symbol. That symbol didn't have a line underneath. This symbol didn't have a line. Okay, so it's either H or J. Solid line means I need a line with my symbol. So now what we need to know is that this here, let's go back to the notes. I'm just going to put it right here. So if you put a line on your sign, this one here would make the word letter D for the word down. This one here would make the letter P for the word up. Which symbol would this need? It's shaded down below the line. This is the word down. Down symbol looks like this. Correct answer is H. Okay, let's try another one like that. This one's a little bit more difficult, but that's okay. Okay, and this one here, we have solid lines. One moment, here we go. All right, this one's a solid line. They're all solid, so that doesn't help me. The symbol looks like this. This symbol, if you put a line on it, makes the letter D for down. Letter A did not drop down. Letter B did not color down. Letter C colored down. Letter D did not color down. So the correct answer is C. I needed a picture where it colored down. This one went up. This one went up. This one went up. This one dropped down. Next. All right, this one's very important. What we know about graphs is I cannot graph unless y is by itself. So if y is not by itself, we need to solve it before we can graph it. To solve this, I'm going to move this x to the other side. That's a minus 1x. That leaves me to put a 1 here to make our life easier. Negative 1y is less than or equal to negative 1x minus 3. To get y by itself, we divide everything by the number that was in front of the y or attached to the y, which was that negative 1. That's what makes it go away. So that leaves me with a y. I divided by a negative number, which means my sign has to flip. Now I have negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1 with an x. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is positive 3. Here we go. This symbol has a solid line. So it's not G and it's not H. That's not a solid line. That's a dashed line. So it's neither of those. This symbol, if you put a line on it, would make the letter P for up. This one colored up. This one colored up. Ooh. Okay, here we go. Last piece. This one is going up 1 and over 1. This is not a good graph. This one's really steep. That's tricky. This is not going to be how it is. So if you graphed 1x plus 3, it would look like this. Start at 3, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So the correct answer is F. Next, graphing inequalities. You just had a test over this, so hopefully it's not that hard. So in number 43, what it wants you to do is tell me the solution. The solution is where two lines cross. It went to the right 3 and a little bit, and it went up 3 and a little bit. It's like a scribble. The only one that says 3 and a little bit, comma, 3 and a little bit is A. It goes to the right like 3 and a half, and it goes up about 3 and a half. Not too bad. We're going to skip 44 for just a second and go to 45. In 45, these two equations are already solved for y. So all I need to do is plug them into the calculator and see where they cross. So I'm going to go to Desmos. When it's in y equals, it's easy. Y equals 1/2 x minus 3 over 2. 3 divided by 2. Okay, there's my first line. My second line, y equals 2/4 x minus 9 over 6. There it is. So what happened, there's the red line. Here's my blue line. They're the same. So if they're on the same exact line, we call that infinitely many solutions, because that's a point, that's a point, that's a point, that's a point. There's all those points that live on both lines. So it's not one solution. It is infinitely many solutions. If they never cross, it's called no solutions. But this one crossed all the time. So it's called infinitely many solutions. If it crossed once, like this one, we just have the one solution where it crosses. Okay, let's move to number 44. So in number 44, what we've done all this chapter is we know that I can only graph when y is by itself. So 3x minus 7y equals 22. 2x plus y equals 9. To graph a line, we need to solve for y. To solve for y, we start by moving the x to the other side. So I'm subtracting 3x. To get y by itself, I divide everything by -7. So now you can type it in just like this. You can clean up those negatives if you want to. I'm going to write it just so you see what that would look like. If you clean up the negatives, a negative divided by negative is a positive 3/7. 22 divided by -7 is a minus 22 over 7. So you can type it in like this, or you could type it in this cleaned up way. Either is fine. And then what it says is we need to solve for y for this one here. To solve for y, there's an x in the way, so I move the x to the other side. That leaves me with y equals -2x plus 9. Y is now by itself, so my answer is this. Now I need you to go to Desmos, type them both in, and tell me the ordered pair where they cross. Okay. 46, same thing. 46 is not ready yet because there's only an x here. That's not good. So in 46, I need to move the y to the other side. So this is 1x plus 6y, I had to move that y over, equals -17. Then it says -2x minus 4y equals 2. So on your own, solve these both for y and tell me where they cross. Last piece. Again. In this one, the first equation, 3x plus 5y equals -8. We need to solve that for y. The second equation, y equals -2x plus 1, that y is already by itself, so this one is fine. That one's ready for Desmos. but this one is not. So solve for y, plug it in, and tell me where they cross. When you get the final answer, it says what is the x value. So this number will be your final answer. When you get to this one, same thing. We need to solve them both for y. Solve for y. Plug in into Desmos, see where they cross. This one wants the y number of your solution. Okay, last two, and then we are done. All right, 49, it just wants you to set it up. You guys are good at coins. This is my favorite type. So we have a total of 16 quarters and dimes. I'm going to write equals 16. We have $2.20. So I'm going to put the value of a quarter, 0.25, plus the value of a dime, 0.10, and it's money plus money equals total money. Then if there's 16 coins, those coins are quarters and dimes. Find the answer choice that matches those equations. Last but not least, number 50. What I have here, 8 gallons of paint and 3 brushes cost $152.50. So I write it just like that. 8 gallons of paint. My next equation says 6 gallons of paint and 2 brushes cost $113. Now I need the actual answer. So to get the actual answer, I rewrite this as 8x plus 3y is $152.50. Solve for y. My next equation is 6x plus 2y equals 113. Solve for y. Once y is by itself, you plug them into Desmos, and you can tell me where they cross. Okay, that is your entire review. Your test will look very similar to these two. We have a couple days next week to be able to go over this one more time, and then you guys will take your final.